On today's episode, we're making this because I didn't like the look or functionality of the one I had. So today's episode, we're going to prototype this one and then possibly get them ready to manufacture and sell. So all we're gonna need to do this is eat some chicken strips, have our straight edge, fresh, brand new Sharpie, our accurate tape measure, and that's all you'd really need. But to make it a lot easier, we do have this one to kind of go off of for some measurements. I cheated and already drew it all out without filming anything. I apologize, but my phone was kind of dead at the time. I didn't feel like waiting. All right, this is what I started with for all three holes. Marked out all three holes, then lined that up on the two holes and went from there. Got to make it nice and clear in there. So I have this. This one may be a little aggressive and I may have to trim it back a little bit later on, but that's the nice thing about metal. I can always take off a little bit if it doesn't work, and then I can do that to my next version and make it a little better too. So yeah, kind of did a nice little loop around that hole, loop around that one. Now the reason I didn't bring that one down is because I want that flange on there like this. So that will fold up, but like I said before, I didn't want it to come straight down like this one. So I angled it in, so it's a little more flowing. And then here's where the hole needs to go for the bottom. Measured forward and back and up and down, and that's where it's roughly supposed to go. Again, I'll make the holes in this and cut this all out, and then I'll test fit this compared to here and see what happens. I really wish I had a straight one. I don't want to keep unbolting the one off of my truck to test. And that one won't tell me because it's like half an inch back. But yeah, we'll trim this out and then we'll see from there. This is 3/16, which is probably fine. But the chunk that I've got is 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to use 1/4 inch. Now another tricky part of this, especially since I'm using a thicker material, this goes on the back, but this goes on the underside. So we need the height to be right on the inside, and we need these holes to be the right height from here on this side, but we need this hole to be the right distance on the back side. It's a little confusing there, especially when you're changing thicknesses. So I had to measure from the back side to this, not from the front side, and now I got to actually take away the thickness of my material and part of my radius on there for the right spot. And there we have it. I feel like that looks a little cleaner, a little bit more professional than this, even though this is like actual store-bought product. I think it's Calmini or whatever. Cut it out, bend it up, do the 2 welds in there, and of course I want to try to drill all 4 holes prior, especially since I have a punch at work and I could just ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk. It was a little close to the edge, so I might want to do that before I cut it out of the chunk. It's probably hard to see it all, but I got it all marked out here. All 3 holes. That one probably really hard to see. I've laid this on there to double check. I've laid that on there to double check. And all the holes line up with each other. And this lines up with here. And this, I took a measurement out. Hopefully it's far enough. And yeah, we'll, I might do a slot here. Because I have a punch at work that does slots, depending on the size of the slot. Because I don't want it too big this way, because it's trying to, when these bend, they pull that way. So we got to keep it from pulling that way. So we want this tight that way, but this way is okay. So if I got a 1/2 inch by like 3/4, 1/2 inch by 1 slot at work, I will put a slot in here. And then if it bends and it's wrong, then that's okay. Chunk is cut out, ready to go to work. I cut it big enough that it can fit 2 here instead of just going here and losing that second one. Because they kind of, as you can see, they interlock with each other. I didn't want to draw it fully out just in case there's some changes. And I could cut this whole thing out before I take it to work, but I want to punch it first just because these are really close to the edge, and sometimes the punch press does not like that. So we're going to leave it a whole chunk for now. And then I might even cut it out with the plasma cutter at work. We'll see. See there, same with bending it. I might bend it at work, or I might zip disc them and fold them in at home just for now. Got the holes punched at work. I was debating using the plasma cutter at work for that, but I ended up not having time. So I'll just zip it out. It's fine. I'll take some time or whatever. These holes line up nicely. So, yeah. My slot is a little crooked, but whatever. That should be all right. Especially since it's just a prototype anyways. So I'll zip it out, and then I'll zip along the back of these to fold them in. And we'll try to get this built today. Got the rough cut out. Haven't completely ground it down yet because I'm more worried about making it fit. As you can see by this mark, I already got to take more off. Another issue is these big spots here hit here, which is why I'm adding more there, and it hits there. So I'm not sure what to do about that. So I don't really want to grind these down. That's not a good product if you tell the customer, oh, you got to grind that down. Although it also, I don't think that would do too much if you ground that down just a little bit there. It probably would be okay. I just want to try to avoid it. Maybe if I put a little notchy here and move that down, and then with the slot in there will help. You can kind of got the shape here to fit, and I did notch it. I realized you also got to remember when prototyping things what moves, what doesn't. I did flatten this down just because this is a crappy bent one, so just to get to fit, and then later on worry about it. But this spins. Oh no, this spins. That would stay flat. I was thinking, oh, this might spin, but no, it's just this that spins. Okay, so ignore that, because I was going to say this spins, so you'd have to grind on the whole thing. But I notched it out. It doesn't quite fit because this one is kicked over and sits over here instead of over here. Now I need to bend it all, as you noticed, probably. This is way below my line. That's because the bend actually has to be here, not up here, it looks like, with where this sits. Again, it's hard to tell because it's a bent one, but kind of straight down right at the bottom of that there, and not up there at my line. But this is why this is a prototype, so I will bend it down there. And hopefully with this notch, it is far enough out. If not, I might have to kind of Dremel it out a little bit, which I don't have one, but yeah, I'll mark it out. I'll zip it from the back, and we'll bend it up. They're all scored. Now, the trick to this is you grind through, or cut through, sorry, almost all the way you're basically taking all the strength out of there so you can bend it, but you don't want to go all the way through so it doesn't move or anything. Like when you bend it, it will just stay in position where you want it, and then you can weld it. That's all this is just kind of just to hold it where you want it. I realized I could just have easily made this in multiple parts and weld it together. That way also works too. I just originally planned to bend this in the brake, so that's why I did it in one. Now we can either use a hammer or a big crescent wrench. Well, there we go. Normally there wouldn't be such a gap in there, but we decided to move this down, causing gap there. If we decided to move this down before I cut this, I could have cut it over and then it would be fine. So the next one will be okay, just not this one. So I'm gonna dig out in here a little bit more. I'm gonna put it right up against here because it needs to sit right up against there. So I'm gonna dig that out. I'm not gonna worry about welding this or cleaning anything up yet. I'm just gonna dig that out, and then we're gonna try to bolt it onto the truck, and then see what happens, and then I can take it out. If it works, weld it up, clean it up, paint it, etc. So it fits in. Looks like everything lines up, but this does need to go up just a little bit. I should have done the 1/2 by 1. I did a 1/2 by 3/4. I should have done a 1/2 by 1. But I will take that back to work on Monday and Dremel it up a little bit. Another problem. This is the fun of prototyping. I decided I'd try to put it in. And it hits right here. So that top part's got to come down, which isn't a big deal. I can just zip that off and angle that back, and that will fit in. Other than that, I think it's good. And once I get this farther over, then that will bring it farther away, and hopefully this will fit in. It's just a little too tight right now. Plus, it's 1/4 inch. I'd like to go to 3/16 eventually with these, if I start making more of them. 1/4 inch is overkill. 3/16 will bring it in, you know, a 1/16 at least. Give me a little bit more room. I still might have to notch it there a little bit, but it's coming along. It's definitely doable. I mean, it fits in. I think we did do this too low. I could have done it a little higher, just the way everything seems to be measuring out in there. Plus the washer, and then that, yeah, we could have done it a little higher, and a little farther out, which I could actually cut that off and do that. Got it all welded together. Found a new problem. Well, it's one I already knew was going to be a problem. Right here, turning. So I gotta trim that out. Got it in. Got a little notchy there. See, like right now, this tire is like full lock this way. It only sits that far. So that far that way should be good. And if it's not, I can trim even more out of it. So we are not quite at full lock. We are almost there. And it maxes out. So just a little bit more off of that, and then it'll be good. All welded up. Only blew the breaker on the garage twice. It's gonna piss me off because you'd start getting really nice welds and then you'd have to stop, and a nice weld, stop, and then I think that's where I blew the breaker once, and I blew the breaker once in here. Just waiting for it to cool because I'm working on a plastic table. So that's why I got creative with my welding bench. Well, there we go. Notched out more in there. Got it all welded up. Still needs some paint, but I'll test drive it to work for a while first, just to kind of proof of concept, make sure everything's good, and if it is, I'll probably paint it up and start on making another one.